Good afternoon and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake. Let us join together in consciousness as we set the intention for this afternoon's service. I quiet my mind and I open my heart to allow for the possibility of something remarkable. I open my eyes and I see that life is unfolding according to consciousness. So I check in, I check to see what it is I'm thinking about, where my focus is. I check in to see what's going on inside of me that might be creating that which I'm living. So filled with a deep sense of gratitude and possibility, I know that this day truly is a gift and a blessing. That something happening here today opens minds and hearts, and that the ideas presented land in a way that is meaningful. So I'm grateful for this time together, grateful for this opportunity to share ideas and thoughts and conversation. So with a grateful heart, I release this into the law of mind, knowing it is done and that all is well. And I let that be the truth. And so it is.
Good afternoon, everyone. I share with you our land acknowledgement. We are honored to be meeting on this land, and many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people from across Turtle Island call home. We acknowledge and thank the original caretakers and knowledge keepers of this territory, the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat. We also give thanks to all other Indigenous peoples, recorded and unrecorded, who have shared responsibility for this territory. In honoring the Dish with One Spoon Treaty, which protects this territory, we accept our responsibility to peaceably share and care for the resources that surround us. We also acknowledge, as inhabitants of these lands, the inequity and discrimination continue to affect our BIPOC and 2SL LGBTQ+ family. We therefore strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation, recognizing our ultimate oneness and acknowledging our reality, both our past and present. We commit to moving forward in a spirit of mutual cooperation. We are one. Please take a moment to honor the stewards of the land where you find yourself. Our vision at CSL on the Lake is transforming our world through the emergence of our authentic self. And our mission is to welcome you as you are, where you are, without judgment or criticism, providing a sacred place of learning and growing as you seek to achieve your greatest dreams. We accomplish this by offering Science of Mind classes, social events, inspiring workshops, thought-provoking services, and practitioner support. We honor the revelation of your emerging authentic self through our positive messaging and loving support.
Brilliant song, and a great start to this talk today of getting comfortable with discomfort. Sometimes we've forgotten that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Both are essential, both matter, and both talk to who it is we are and what it is we bring. So as we continue to move along with the various polarities that are in our life, sometimes we're really tied to a certain idea. We sit back and we think, well, here's what I believe, and so I know it's right. And then somebody else comes along with a differing viewpoint. And maybe that makes us uncomfortable, or maybe we just simply disagree. And if we can come to a place of accepting that it is possible for it to be this and that instead of this or that, we come back to that place of and. We start to realize that both sides may have equal value and produce remarkable results. Because sometimes when we hold to one idea, it can create suffering somewhere else. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to creating compromise and collaboration more so than competition. And my way or the highway, I think sometimes we live there, don't we? So Ernest Holmes was really clear that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. Yet so often we get caught up in seeing one perspective that we miss what it truly means, that idea of oneness. So if we accept that each and every one of us are here by divine appointment, that there's a reason why we're here. There's something that we bring that no one else can bring in the way that we do at this particular time. And so we are essential. We're an essential service. How is that? So we have to find a way of accepting ourselves without criticism and judgment, of accepting others without criticism and just coming to a place of going, what if every single one of us matters? What if all of the differing opinions are absolutely okay? And that somehow each one of us, the way we are in the world, actually is adding to the benefits for all. So we want to just find a way to look at the world from a slightly different perspective and to get over the idea of picking sides. And right now in our world, it'd be real easy to pick sides. You know, we can look at Ukraine and Russia and pick sides. We can look at Gaza and we can look at Israel and we can pick sides. And we can look at the challenges with race relations in our country and our continent, and we can pick sides. But what if both are essential? What if both are necessary? What if it would be furthering our well-being if we were to come to a place of going this end? What if it matters that all of us matter? What if we begin to shift our perspective and instead of laying blame and judgment, come to a place of going, now what? Once we sit back and allow ourselves to be open to a third possibility, it's just like in marriage. You know, when you get married, you know, there's this person and that person, but you're creating a third. And the third is the relationship, right? And we do that in so many things that we are connected to, that there is a third way. There's another thing going on that if we can come to terms with that and create some kind of balance, we can end some of this polarity and begin to create a greater sense of harmony and bring people together in a much brighter way. So one of the shares that was on our website this past week was, you know, you might prefer cats over dogs or dogs over cats. Well, that's a pretty small thing. Well, unless you're a dog person. No, I'm just kidding. It's, you know, that's one of the more minor details of our life. You know, it's like whether or not we're going to choose to have dogs or cats in our homes, that's a little bit different. But when we're looking at something bigger, when we're looking at, you know, the career that we choose, are we choosing a career because it's work that we love to do, or is it because we think we'll earn good money doing it? Where is it that we're spending our energy? How are we going through our day-to-day life experience? And are we doing it in a way that really benefits and promotes well-being overall? Or is it something that's just for our own personal gain that isn't actually including the rest? So we want to really pay attention when we know that consciousness creates. We want to pay attention to where our consciousness is. So instead of taking sides, and I know it's so easy to take sides, isn't it? I remember years ago when, you know, I had a difficulty at work, and it's like, you know, figuring out who's right and who's wrong, right? Who was the one who was right and who's the one who's wrong? Ultimately, we have to make somebody wrong. I look at the anti-bullying policies in the world, and yeah, we should stop people from beating on each other and hurting each other. Absolutely. But anti-bullying focuses our attention on bullying. And I think that's the last place we should be focused. What if we created something instead that was all about creating collaborations and healing wounds, that we could be together and honor both people? You know, when we look at somebody who's bullying another person, right? What if we're able to look at the person who's being harmed and give them love, and look at the person who's doing the harming and begin to ask them some questions, especially with children? You know, if a kid is 6 or 7 years old bullying somebody else, I think there's a greater problem. So why are we making that kid bad and the other kid good, when we could sit back and go, both of them are children, both are child of the universe, both are doing whatever they think is best. So let's go a little deeper. Let's dive a little deeper. Let's begin to look past the idea of taking sides and rather look at something that would promote wholeness or well-being, not for some, but for all. And I think that's where it becomes a difficulty to sit back and separate ourselves in a way where we're not going, well, you're right and you're wrong, but rather we can listen to both sides and see the rightness of each person's journey, knowing that it's taking them somewhere. So part of what's required with that is something that most of us are not particularly fond of, and that's being vulnerable. It's really, really important that we find a way to be real in our interactions, and that requires vulnerability. We're not real fond of that most of the time, especially if we're getting emotional over something. I don't know how many times I've been in session with people and they've started to cry, and the first thing they do is say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be doing this. Yes, you should. You should cry your little heart out. There's something about letting all those tears out that actually frees up a lot of pain that might be held within us. And so even if you're sitting with somebody who's having a tearful moment, don't reach out and pat them on the back or immediately give them a hug. Let them sit in their experience. If we could learn how to be with the discomfort, it actually opens the doors for us to experience real comfort without the masks. Real comfort where we feel safe and secure in our own bodies and in our own homes, regardless of how we define ourselves or the world around us, that there is a sense of safety and security because we're being real. And it requires us to change some of the beliefs that we hold, or maybe some of the beliefs we've been raised with. You know, we were given all these ideas, and somebody mentioned a while ago that, you know, we're thinking all kinds of thoughts, but the majority of those thoughts are actually somebody else's that were given to us. So if we really begin to explore, we start to see that although we might believe in a certain way, the belief that we hold, if we really explored it, may no longer serve us, in which case we could change it. So one of the things that was brought up is the idea of introverts and extroverts. And I know for me, I'm kind of right on the border of that, you know, kind of middle line, a little bit of both, depending on the day. But maybe that's the case for all of us. You know, maybe all of us are a little bit of both. And, you know, there's time when we need downtime, even if we're an extrovert. There's moments where it's just nice to take a pause, do a meditation, have a little bit of quiet time. Or as introverts, of course, we still need to connect with one another. And, you know, COVID really kind of interrupted it for us. I think the result of COVID has created a lot of separation that we're having more difficulty bringing back together. I know even for CSL Toronto, or CSL on the Lake, we have been looking at the possibility of holding in-person services, but anytime we do, nobody comes, or very few people come. So if nobody wants to go out and be in person, then here's what we're doing. We're staying online for the time being. But I think that separation is posing some other challenges for us. I think we need to connect more so than just this. I think, the idea of getting a hug or giving a hug, the possibility of sitting down and sharing a cup of coffee face to face with somebody and having a conversation. There's something that deepens in our relationship when we actually spend time together. And of course, touching is so important to our well-being. There's even studies that, talk about babies that are born that aren't touched and loved, that they'll die. They need that connection, they need that touch, as all of us do. So how do we create a balance where we're taking the time to connect, but we're also taking the time to honor where we are and to be able to view opposing ideas and thoughts, so that we can live in this state of a greater sense of balance, I suppose, with ourselves and others. Maybe that creates a better life. Maybe it creates greater happiness. I don't know about you, but when I look around today, I'm running into a lot of people who are, especially in cars. I don't know, I guess when you're in your car, you think you're in your private space. And so anything you do is irrelevant because you're in your private space. But I'm watching people doing really kind of scary things on the road. When they're making a left-hand turn, instead of waiting for the car that's in front of them, wildly going around them to make that turn faster. Or somebody who's, you know, turning in and, decides to swing over into your lane just to give you a little wake up call. Or somebody else, when you cut them off, throws a bottle at the back of your car and hits it because, well, you did cut them off. So obviously you deserve that. When did we forget that we've all made mistakes? When did we forget that each one of us is here and requires some kind of space and possibility? When did we forget to be kind or respectful or compassionate? And maybe it's because there's so much fear right now. Fear about how do we live when we're not making enough money to cover all the bills? Like, what's going on? But I'm here to say that we have a choice in all this. We can turn around today and go, okay, I'm going to choose for me in my life experience. I'm going to choose that I'm going to not react, but rather I'm going to respond moment by moment in a way that acknowledges, respects, and brings people together rather than causing more separation. Okay, so it's about reminding ourselves. And one of the ways we can do that is, one of the classes we taught was to put little Post-its all around the house and to remind ourselves that life loves us. Life loves us. That this journey that we're on, we're not alone. We're in it together. And whether we like that or we don't like that, we're in it together. And if we can begin to accept that what is, but we have the ability to think differently about anything so that we can produce a new result, I think it's really important that we begin to look at life and how it's going and what we're doing and begin to reshape how we show up. See, the only person I can work on is me. The only person you can work on is you. And when we can come to a place of accepting that in my life, I'd like to experience more joy and peace and greater conversations and in-depth looks at things. If that's my desire, then I need to act in accordance with that. And we have the ability to do that. Part of it is through doing forgiveness work. when somebody does something that upsets us, rather than act out or, go back to the it's an eye for an eye, you did this to me, now I'm going to do it to you. But rather to go, let me sit and have a conversation, or let me explore why this occurred, or let me just simply forgive. Let me remove some of the energy from this so that I can actually be in a place of kindness and respect. We live in a world with polarities, there's no question. And when we look at our beliefs and our ideas, we can accept that my way is the right way, or my way is one way. And if my way is one way, then somebody else has another way. And that could be interesting to discover as well, couldn't it? So we begin to look at life through a slightly different lens, a lens of community and collaboration, a lens of cooperation, a time of coming together with ideas and thoughts, knowing where two or more are gathered, there is this increase in energetic flow that moves us forward in ways that is really profound. So the way we're living is up to us individually, and we can decide what it is we want to do or how we want to do it. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind, actually from an article in 1971, said, "And let us not forget the importance of keeping our minds in a state of good-natured flexibility." Yes, we must be flexible as well as positive and affirmative. I love that idea of flexibility, because I think that's where we get caught up sometimes, is we're so stuck on our way of doing things that we don't necessarily consider that there might be another way. And maybe inadvertently, we push our agenda forward when somebody's not quite ready for that. He also wrote in this book, this thing called You, keep the doorway of your mind open. Feeling, thinking, communing with this life, know that it fills you with light and with power. A few years back, I heard about this human library, and I thought, what a cool idea. Somebody sits and talks to someone else and tells their story for about 30 minutes. It's not a conversation, it's a telling of a story. It's like going into the library and reading a book. We're not offering our insights to the author because they're not there, but they're telling us a story. If each one of us would sit and listen to the other, just for a time, we would discover things that would absolutely probably knock our socks off. It would be just so fascinating to see. And I think when we talk to each other about what our life is really like, or what we're passionate about, or why we do things the way we do, there's so much exciting information. It's such a beautiful way of expanding our knowledge and understanding. And especially when we're speaking to people of different religious beliefs, people with different political beliefs, people from other countries, people who like different types of food. There's so many ways of being. My way isn't the right way. It's one way, just like yours is one way. So we have an opportunity to begin to live in a place of collaboration and cooperation. We can begin to work together with a greater sense of harmony as we begin to observe what's working and what isn't. And it's up to each one of us to choose where it is that we want to land in life. Do I want to be open and receptive? Or do I want to be closed in, closed down? It's just choices all the time. We always have choices. But what if all of the choices are fine? Which ones will I choose? And one of the ways you can double check is, do you have a should in there? Because if there's a should, that might mean no. Do what you love to do. Find things that excite and delight you. Share your wins with friends and family. Be willing to cry or to be angry about something. Never projecting it, but allowing yourself to process, to feel, to be where you are. When we can come to terms with where we are, we have the ability to create something bigger and brighter, something remarkable. We're in this life for a short time, and we're here merely to experience living, whatever that looks like. So I invite you to take the time to really look at what it is you believe to be true and just ask the question, is it true, or is it true for me? And is there space for another opinion? Could somebody else's idea be just as valid as my own? Also in the book, this thing called You, Ernest Holmes wrote, there is perfect coordination in every part of my being because the spirit of perfection is acting in and through me. When we accept that there is this divine presence in us, and if we tap into that, we are now empowered to do remarkable things, not because we're special, but because we're part of this infinite oneness. And not some of us, but all of us. No one has been exempt from it. And the only thing that keeps me separate from my source are my own ideas, what I believe to be true. So today I open my heart, I open my mind, and I work to live in a place of, yes, now what? What's coming that could really, really be helpful? Brene Brown wrote in Atlas of the Heart, in these challenging moments of dissonance, we need to stay curious and resist choosing comfort over courage. It's brave to invite new information to the table, to sit with it and hear it out. It's also very rare these days. So I invite you to challenge yourself and stay curious and choose to be courageous, to have great conversations and to discover new things moment by moment and see where that takes you. So at this time, I want to take us into a meditation. So I invite you to just sit comfortably, put down any pen and paper you might have, or just getting your feet comfortable on the floor, and close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. And just take a deep breath in. One more deep breath. And just allow your breath to find its natural rhythm. There is a power for good in the universe that is infinite. And this power is everywhere present in its entirety. So it's right here where I am. All the attributes of it right here. And it's right there where you are. All of it. I invite you to drop your awareness into your heart space and just imagine this powerful, positive energy pulsating at the very center of your being. Feel the rhythm just of the movement as your heart beats. As your breath flows, the rhythm of living. And it is in living that we create through our imagination. That as we think along the lines of possibility, opportunity, curiosity, using our imagination to create something remarkable, unique to us alone. Listen. Listen to that still small voice. And as we catch the idea that is being presented, are we courageous enough to step into it, to give it life, to take that vision, that idea, and actually live it? And however we decide is perfect. However we decide takes us somewhere. And life unfolds according to that direction. It's time to move into a place of love and acceptance for who we are and where we are. To be gentle, gentle with ourselves, gentle with others, and to live in a place of curiosity, love, and peace. All choices we can make moment by moment. Taking a deep breath in. Feeling your body awake and aware. Allow this music to remind you of this life journey and the importance of being gentle.